Joe Biden is vowing support to unions while his economic policies are hurting American workers across the nation. Earlier today, One America's Stella Escobedo discussed the matter with Marc, president of the Nation Right to Work Committee. Take a look.
Let's talk more about this with Marc. He is the president of the National Right to Work Committee. Marc, thanks so much for being here.
Stella, thanks for bringing this up. This is important to talk about for sure.
It is. And you know, it's interesting, Marc. Biden is standing there telling these workers he's working hard to rebuild the economy. Meanwhile, we know people's dollars aren't going as far as it used to, no matter what he says, right? I mean, denial, maybe?
Well, certainly trying to change the narrative, because if you're a rank and file worker across America, and it wasn't rank and file workers sitting in that convention hall in Philadelphia, it was the top bosses of the AFL-CIO, the delegates from these big unions across the country. If you're an energy worker, you're wondering, what the heck did we invite this guy for? Because you're out of work because the Keystone Pipeline's been shut down, and drilling and actually research on federal lands has been withdrawn. And you know, you've played the clips of Biden on the campaign trail talking about ending coal and ending fossil fuel. If you're in the energy business and you're a rank and file member of an energy union, you're wondering, why is he doing this? And then it's hard to believe what he says about the country coming back. I mean, his idea of manufacturing jobs, those jobs are coming to right to work states across the country that guarantee workers the right to work without paying union dues or fees just to get or keep a job. And so this narrative is really amazing when he talks about inflation or the lack thereof, or credit card bills going down, or savings rates going up. It's just not true. And rank and file workers know that are shopping at grocery stores and filling up at gas tanks.
Yeah, no matter how much you gaslight people, people know. I mean, they're looking at their bank accounts. I want to talk about the right to work states in a second, but I want to talk more about this. Biden keeps shifting the blame for what's happening in the U.S. He's not taking any responsibility. He reiterated his criticism for the ultra MAGA Republicans, blaming them for stopping his attempts to bring down costs for American families. But as you just mentioned, look what's happening with gas prices. I mean, from day one, he killed the Keystone XL pipeline, killing jobs.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's no question about that. And they're picking winners and losers. And if you're in the green energy business, or you're a coffee barista, or you're, working in an Amazon plate, you're probably doing fine, because the National Labor Relations Board, Biden's National Labor Relations Board, is propping up union power in that segment. But if you're a steel worker, if you're a teamster, if you're a truck driver, if you're an energy worker, as I mentioned, if you're an operating engineer, it's not, quote, trickling down to you. He doesn't like trickle down, but it's certainly not trickling down to rank and file workers. These policies that union officials here in Washington, D.C. and there in Philadelphia are talking about as, quote, improvements to the economy. It doesn't make it down to rank and file workers, like the past president, President Trump, talking about securing our border, lowering taxes, reducing regulation, becoming energy independent. Those things resonate with workers across the country, whether they got a union card or not.
You know, Biden supports the so-called PRO Act, which would eliminate right-to-work laws nationwide and force millions more workers across the country to pay dues to union bosses or be fired. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that and what it means so people understand?
Yeah, the president was quoted on the campaign trail. I think it was the Pennsylvania AFL-CIO convention. He said there should be no right to work in America. No joke. No right to work in America. That's how desperate union officials are to basically stem the tide of jobs and manufacturing and opportunities that are heading to the 27 right to work states. Now, we passed 5 new right to work laws in the last 10 years, and that's hurt the unions, because now rank and file workers can hold them accountable for their agenda and their political rhetoric. And, they want to get rid of it. So the PRO Act passed the House. No committee hearings, no testimony, back in March of 2021 on a relatively partisan vote. It's pending in the Senate. It does more than repeal right-to-work laws across the country. It initiates secondary boycotts, allows them. It works toward card check unionization, which eliminates the secret ballot for deciding whether or not you want a union to speak for you in a workplace. There is so much there to unpack. It's basically a wish list of union officials. Nothing for rank-and-file workers, but everything to give union officials more power over the American workplace.
Yeah, and the workers are the ones who are losing out, because they're paying all these dues, right? A lot of these unions across the nation are traditionally known to lean Democrat, right? In heavily areas, unionized areas, Chicago, Detroit, Los Angeles, they're known to be Democrat strongholds, right, in elections. However, now that we see Biden and the Democratic economic policies hurting everybody, including union members, do you think there's a change of political preferences within unions? What are you hearing?
Yeah, absolutely, Stella. I think you're spot on in that analysis. I mean, look, President Trump wouldn't have been elected in 2016 if it weren't for rank and file workers in Wisconsin, in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana. Those belts, those old industrial belts now, frankly, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Indiana are all right to work states now, which is great for them and great for the auto industry and great for manufacturing. But there is a shift underway. And we're seeing the growth, the chasm between union officials and their agenda and the agenda of rank and file workers across the country. It's growing wider and wider and wider. And the only thing that protects union officials is government power. They are wards of government action, whether it be at the state level or at the federal level. It's the government that protects their special privileges. And they're worried that if Congress changes, if the American people stand up, open the window and say, we're mad as heck, and change what happens here in Washington. And I know that change is difficult, but we think, and I think, and they think that change is coming. And so they're going to try to rush everything through that they can. They're going to try to make demands, more demands to give them more power, to force more workers to pay more union dues so they can elect more politicians that will protect and expand that power. I think things are going to change.
Well, we see the changes coming. We're seeing it in the primaries. I mean, look what happened in Texas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, constituencies that heretofore have been taken for granted as being just a given are saying, you know what? We're taking a better look and a more deeper look at these things. And we're looking at our pocketbooks and our bank accounts, to your point, Stella, our savings accounts and our 401ks. And we're saying something's got to give, and something's got to give. That's usually political, and it comes in elections like the one we're heading to in November.
Well, you can't deny the facts, right? When you're looking at your bank account, you're looking at your statement, and you're picking and choosing whether you're going to fill up your car or you're going to put food on the table. So the problems are real. Marc Mix, president of the National Right to Work Committee, thank you so much for being here today.
Stella, my privilege. Thank you.
Thank you.